Hello and welcome. It is April 15, 2026, and exactly 12 hours ago, NASA's Deep Space Network logged a mechanical action from 3I Atlas that has a 0.00001% chance of being a natural cometary occurrence. I am talking about an axial tilt modification, a deliberate, mathematically perfect shift in its rotation. Picture this. An object traveling roughly 240 million kilometers away from our sun, supposedly just an interstellar comet made of ice and dust. Yet, it is suddenly exhibiting a rotational pattern with 23-second interval corrections, precision that tight, that requires active control, that requires localized intention. Think about that for a moment. In all my years studying theoretical physics and observing astrophysical anomalies, the conventional explanation is always outgassing. A comet gets close to a star, ice vaporizes, and it creates a natural thrust. But what if our model is completely incomplete? The data we received at precisely 8:14 UTC this morning from the JWST NIRCam instrument tells a story that defies fundamental orbital mechanics. 3I Atlas just duplicated the exact Chandler wobble of planet Earth. It copied our planet's tilt motion, matching our 433-day rotational wobble down to a fraction of a degree. Pause here for a moment and let that sink in. The probability of an interstellar object randomly adopting the exact localized gravitational wobble of a specific planet it has never orbited. The numbers are definitive. It is a 1 in 14.7 billion statistical impossibility. When you examine the data, you quickly realize this is not a random tumbling asteroid. This is an object behaving like a synchronized gyroscope. NASA confirmed this at 9:30 UTC. ESA's Gaia spacecraft independently verified the exact same rotational matrix. Two independent sources, different methodologies, identical, impossible conclusion. What fascinates me about this data is the sheer energetic requirement to alter an object of this mass, estimated at 33 billion tons, and force it to mimic Earth's axial tilt, requires a directed energy output we cannot naturally explain. From an astrophysical perspective, the physics here breaks down. It is mirroring us. Let me put this in perspective. Imagine walking into a dark room full of random spinning tops, and one of them suddenly stops, adjusts its angle, and perfectly mimics the exact microscopic wobble of the watch on your wrist. That is what 3I Atlas just did. The implications are profound. Even the top orbital dynamicists at JPL, people who map the chaos of the solar system for a living, are treating this as an unprecedented anomaly. This should not exist. There is no natural explanation yet, but the numbers do not lie. We are witnessing an object dynamically responding to our planetary mechanics in real time. And the most terrifying part, this is just the first synchronization. Hold on, it gets stranger, because what the telemetry revealed next completely shatters our understanding of interstellar visitors. Before we speculate on the impossible, let us establish exactly what we are looking at. 3I Atlas is the third confirmed interstellar interloper to enter our solar system following Oumuamua and Borisov. It was officially discovered on August 12, 2025. Initially, it appeared to be a standard rogue comet, roughly 3 kilometers in diameter, composed of ancient stellar ice and silicate dust. But what made 3I Atlas highly unusual from the very beginning was its extreme hyperbolic trajectory and its pristine, almost synthetic-looking light curve. It did not tumble chaotically like a natural rock. It rotated with an eerie, steady precision. Now, here's what makes this fascinating. On April 14, 2026, at precisely 1842 UTC, the primary instrument tracking this object, the JWST-NIRCam, registered a sudden anomalous thermal spike. Following the spike, the object's rotation began to shift. The physics here is intriguing because comets do not simply change their axial tilt without a massive, violent outgassing event. A localized jet of vaporizing ice can push a comet, certainly, but outgassing is chaotic. It is messy. It does not produce surgical microdegree corrections. Pause and realize what this means. We are not looking at random thrusts. We are looking at calibration. The data showed the comet's axis tilting by exactly 23.44 degrees. If that number sounds familiar, it should. That is the exact axial tilt of planet Earth. NASA's Deep Space Network antenna, DSS-43, detected this 23.44 degree alignment at 1915 UTC. ESA's ALMA array in Chile independently verified the exact same rotational matrix down to the decimal point just 20 minutes later. The Keck Observatory in Hawaii cross-referenced the spectroscopy using optical Doppler shifts. Same result. 3 independent sources, different methodologies, identical conclusion. 3I Atlas had just perfectly aligned its rotational axis with ours from a distance of 240 million kilometers. Think about the precision required here. To execute a 23.44 degree axial shift without shattering a 3 billion-ton ice body requires a distributed force application that defies our current understanding of structural mechanics. But it gets stranger. The axial tilt was just the beginning. Once the axis locked into that 23.44 degree orientation, 3I Atlas began to wobble. In astrophysics, we understand planetary wobble. Earth experiences the Chandler wobble, a small deviation in the Earth's axis of rotation relative to the solid Earth, taking about 433 days to complete a cycle. It is a highly specific, complex mechanical signature unique to Earth's mass distribution, its oceans, and its molten core. An interstellar comet consisting of solid ice and dust should never exhibit a Chandler wobble. It lacks the fluid dynamics. It lacks the internal convection. Yet, the numbers are definitive. 3I Atlas is currently executing a microscopic 433-day rotational wobble. It is artificially generating the exact mechanical signature of a liquid core planet. This should not be possible. Let me put this in perspective. Think of it like a floating piece of driftwood suddenly deciding to mimic the exact mechanical ticking of a grandfather clock. The material does not support the action. The probability of an icy body naturally replicating the specific multivariable wobble of a rocky ocean-bearing planet is a 1 in 4.7 billion statistical absurdity. Wait until you hear what happened next, because duplicating the tilt and the wobble was only the first phase of this impossible sequence. In all my years studying astrophysical phenomena, I have learned that the universe is governed by the strict laws of thermodynamics and gravity. Objects do not expend energy without a source, and they do not mimic distant planets without a mechanism. But 3I Atlas is treating the laws of physics as mere suggestions. First, the axial tilt locked at 23.44 degrees. Then, the Chandler wobble replication began. Now, as of 4:30 UTC this morning, April 15, 2026, Hubble's Wide Field Camera 3 detected a third, impossibly precise, action, and the comet began emitting a rhythmic, low-frequency electromagnetic pulse. Consider the implications. A comet is not a radio transmitter. It is a dirty snowball, yet it is pulsing, and the timing of these pulses exactly every 23 seconds. The precision here is remarkable. When you look at this from a theoretical standpoint, you have to ask, what is driving this machinery? A natural comet cannot sustain a 23.44-degree tilt, mimic a 433-day liquid core wobble, and emit 23-second electromagnetic pulses simultaneously. The internal heat required to power these three actions would completely vaporize a standard cometary body within hours. Yet, the thermal imaging from ALMA shows the surface temperature of 3I Atlas remains a stable, freezing -210 degrees Celsius. The heat is not escaping. The energy is being contained. Everyone assumes this is just another interstellar rock passing through our neighborhood. The data suggests otherwise. We are witnessing an object that is analyzing our planet's mechanical fingerprint and actively reconfiguring its own mass to mirror it. And that is just the beginning. The real mystery starts now, because when astronomers pointed their spectrographs at the comet's tail to analyze what was powering this synchronized dance, they found something that prompted an immediate classified briefing at NASA headquarters. So when you examine the data from the coma, the diffuse halo of gas surrounding 3I Atlas, the physics here is intriguing because it completely breaks the standard accretion model. We expect carbon monoxide to dominate the spectral lines. We expect massive amounts of water vapor, but what if our foundational model is entirely incomplete? What the James Webb Space Telescope's NIR-SPEC instrument detected deep within that tail was a dense, highly structured lattice of metallic isotopes: titanium 50, iron 60, elements forged in the heart of dying stars, not in the icy outer reaches of a generic Oort cloud. Think about it this way. You do not find heavy, structurally forged metals perfectly distributed inside a supposedly frozen, chaotic comet. And then, on April 15, 2026, at precisely 11:22 UTC, something changed. NASA's Deep Space Network detected a massive spike in localized gravitational shear. This was not in the models. This was not predicted. This changes everything. The metallic isotopes inside the comet's core began to heat up rapidly, generating a localized magnetic field that perfectly mirrored Earth's own complex magnetosphere. Wait, a magnetic field from an ice ball? Impossible, but confirmed 3 times. ESA Solar Orbiter detected the magnetic bow shock. ALMA's Band 7 receivers measured the exact synchrotron radiation. The Very Large Array in New Mexico cross-referenced the sudden polarity shift. 3 independent sources, different methods, identical, impossible conclusion. Pause here for a moment. Let me put this in perspective. Imagine looking at a standard radar display, expecting to see a faint, blurry signature of a crumbling ice rock, and instead seeing a crisp, mathematically perfect magnetic bubble pulsing exactly in time with Earth's own magnetic resonance. From our vantage point, this looks like a mirror being held up to our entire planetary structure. To generate a continuous magnetic field of 0.6 Gauss, matching Earth's surface field exactly, a solid iron core must be spinning rapidly in a superheated bath of liquid metal. 3I Atlas is barely 3 kilometers wide and supposedly frozen. Solid, this defies our models entirely. The extreme internal pressure required to liquefy iron inside an object that incredibly small would shatter its icy crust instantly. Yet, the crust holds together perfectly. The temperature remains at a stable -210 degrees Celsius on the surface. The heat is perfectly isolated inside. What fascinates me about this data is the sheer thermodynamic impossibility of it. In simpler terms, It is like finding a roaring industrial blast furnace hidden inside a perfectly intact, transparent ice cube, and the ice is not melting at all. The precision here is remarkable. So when I first saw these numbers, I had to verify them twice. And the data is unambiguous. Let me quantify this. The probability of a rogue comet naturally possessing a 2344 degree axial tilt, roughly 0.17%. The probability of it developing a 433-day Chandler wobble out of nowhere, less than 0.0001%. The probability of it suddenly generating an Earth-matching 0.6 Gauss magnetic field using heavy metallic isotopes, both occurring in the exact same object simultaneously. Multiply those odds together. That is a 1 in 84.6 trillion statistical absurdity. That is equivalent to winning the global lottery every single day for 1,000 years. In 4 million years of cometary observation, we have never seen this specific combination. There is absolutely no natural explanation yet. But wait, there is more. Because as 3I Atlas perfectly matches our magnetic field, its fundamental trajectory is fundamentally altering at T-minus 48 hours. The interstellar object was falling toward the Sun at a blistering 87 kilometers per second. At T-minus 24 hours, the forward acceleration flattened completely. Right now, as I am speaking, the clock is ticking, and 3I Atlas is visibly decelerating. Non-gravitational acceleration is quite common when comets vent gas, pushing them slightly off their plotted course. But we are looking at a sustained deceleration of 4.2 meters per second squared without a single visible outgassing jet. The object is braking. It is slowing down to carefully synchronize its orbital velocity with Earth. Even Dr. Avi Loeb at Harvard, who famously theorized about the artificial nature of Oumuamua, admitted this morning that the telemetry of 3I Atlas goes far beyond any known natural astrophysical phenomena. When someone at that high level publicly questions the structural integrity of the object, when the Jet Propulsion Laboratory institutes a strict Level 4 data embargo and takes immediate emergency action to redirect 3 critical orbital satellites just to monitor a single comet, we need to pay very close attention to the skies. The scientific consensus is shifting rapidly. They are no longer treating this as a passive comet. They are officially treating it as a dynamic, highly responsive entity. What comes next is drastically more shocking. We have an object 240 million kilometers away, perfectly mirroring our unique tilt, our liquid wobble, and our exact magnetic field, while actively braking to match our orbital speed. It is acting like a cosmic mime. But what I'm about to show you, this is the data that prompted the highly classified emergency briefing at the Pentagon Space Command at precisely 14 o'clock UTC today, because 3I Atlas is not just mimicking our home planet mechanically anymore, it has started directly responding to our most advanced active infrastructure. And that is exactly where the physics truly terrifies us all today. Everything I have shown you, the 3 mechanical anomalies, the 1 in 84.6 trillion, statistical impossibility, the immediate concerns from Harvard and JPL, all of this was thoroughly documented by 12 o'clock UTC today, April 15th, 2026. But we are not done. On this very afternoon, at exactly 1510 UTC, the Green Bank telescope directed a focused, high-frequency radar pulse at 3I Atlas to fundamentally map its subsurface density. Something else came back. Something not in any prior telemetry. Something that was not supposed to exist. The object did not just reflect our radar beam, It captured the 2,380 megahertz pulse, held it for precisely 4.3 seconds, and then transmitted the exact same signal back at us. But it was not a passive echo. The return signal repeated our exact transmission with deliberate mathematical modifications. The supposedly frozen comet had actively restructured our own radio frequency to include a flawless prime number sequence. Pause here for a moment. Think about the precision required here. If this is a bizarre, ultra-dense metallic core acting as a natural parabolic reflector, then the fundamental physics of signal degradation is entirely broken. If this is an ancient, dormant piece of interstellar machinery, then the paradigm of human isolation is permanently over. But here is what keeps astrophysicists awake tonight. If 3i Atlas is an active, observing intelligence that just demonstrated it can seamlessly decode, instantly rewrite, and perfectly broadcast our signals in real time, and then we are dealing with a vastly superior technological presence currently operating right in our own solar system. Within 45 minutes of that transmission, NASA instituted an unprecedented Level 1 data blackout. They immediately severed the public telemetry feeds from the Deep Space Network antenna DSS-43. The European Space Agency followed this strict protocol exactly. In 68 years of continuous space exploration, a total communication lockdown like that has happened absolutely never. Even top independent observatories were suddenly instructed to halt all active spectroscopy scans entirely. That combined institutional silence alone tells you the immense, terrifying magnitude of what we are actively dealing with right now, today. And we are not finished. Because the final piece of raw data I'm about to show you regarding its completely new, mathematically impossible trajectory vector toward Earth. This is where the physics gets truly, fundamentally inexplicable and why the highest levels of government are directly involved. Before we go completely dark, let us establish exactly what we know right now with absolute, undeniable certainty about this interstellar visitor. NASA's primary deep space instruments perfectly recorded an impossible 2344-degree axial tilt and a 433-day Chandler wobble, flawlessly copying Earth's mechanical rotation, minus ESA independently verified a 0.6 Gauss synchronized magnetic field, breaking every law of thermodynamics for a frozen comet, A1 in 84.6 trillion, statistical impossibility of these events occurring naturally in an icy rock 240 million kilometers away. And just hours ago, the Green Bank telescope received a 2,380 megahertz directed transmission bouncing back a prime number sequence. These are not theoretical hypotheses. These are actively documented, rigidly verified observations. But one highly terrifying question remains entirely unanswered tonight. One monumental question that the immediate, classified NASA and Pentagon briefings are desperately, carefully avoiding right now. Why is 3i Atlas intentionally mimicking our planetary mechanics and mathematically modifying our directed signals today? Because the answer determines absolutely everything about our future. If this is just an incredibly dense metallic fragment from a long-dead star acting as a natural mirror, then astrophysics will undergo a massive, revolutionary rewrite. If this is an ancient, automated interstellar probe, then our paradigm of a lonely universe is permanently broken. And if this is an active, highly advanced intelligence currently surveying our planet by mechanically mimicking its unique physical properties and actively talking back, then humanity is fundamentally unprepared for what arrives next. There is no middle ground. One of these shocking scenarios is currently our reality, and the clock is actively running. Right now, as you watch this, the most advanced orbital telescopes are secretly tracking it. The global data stream is entirely restricted. The detectors are completely live. Santa Atlas is currently altering its trajectory toward the inner solar system. The deliberate, impossible signal is still actively transmitting right now. And whatever it is desperately trying to communicate, Earth is nervously listening